Hi, everybody. We are here for the fourth out of fifth Valentine's Day STEM Challenge. I am doing pandemic STEM Challenge makeovers every day this week. And what that means is just finding those modifications and those tweaks that you can make in case you are doing hybrid or you're in person doing social distancing or your kids are at home doing distance learning. These things are really easy to adjust, and I'm just going to dive right in. Today should be pretty quick. We're doing cards in the clouds, which is also known as towers of love. Now, actually, I'm going to go back and take that off so it doesn't block anything we're going to be looking at today. We started back on Monday with heavy hearts. Then we did Cupid's quiver. Then we did floating flowers. Today is Towers of Love or Cards in the Clouds. And then tomorrow is our last one, and that's Candy Containers. So same time, same place tomorrow, but let's dive into today's challenge. So, some real talk, everybody. Your kids have made towers before. If your kids have done any STEM challenges at all, almost certainly it's been a tower. So, we want to make sure that we do something to make this a little bit novel, a little bit more interesting. And I do have a take on it for to make this actually more Valentine's themed. Now, I don't know if your kids are doing Valentine's Day cards exchanges this year, but even if they aren't, that's okay. But typically, in a normal year, we would use their Valentine's Day cards as the materials for the challenge. So we either do it the same day that we do the card exchange, or sometimes we do it the following day. So they have time to take them home and read them and eat the candy and all that stuff. Occasionally, I've even actually just told them if your cards come in a box, bring in that box. But depending on the age of your kids and what math standards you're trying to reinforce or teach, I'll have them build those towers for maximum height or surface area or volume, whatever makes the most sense. And as I said, these would be the typical materials, but we're not going to be doing that this year, most likely. So I will show you what we will talk about. Instead, I would recommend having your kids, just like always in the past, junk mail, scrap paper. Um, I would try if you because I'm going to tell you how to make this sort of more Valentine's Day themed. Using junk mail will make that difficult. So if you can get them to use scratch paper, or if they have like a cereal box they could use, or a paper bag, like a Trader Joe's bag, or even those like paper lunch bags could work. And we would just cut those up. Or business cards. Some parents have like spare boxes of business cards. So, the first idea to make this so it's not just a tower, not just an everyday tower, is to use this as a way to sort of like put more love into the world, right? And so, one thing I've had them do in the past, especially with older students who don't do Valentine's Day cards exchanges, I've done like a week before we are actually going to do the challenge. I've had the kids start writing down, like just keeping track in their notebook every time they do a random act of kindness for somebody else. And then on the day of the build, they can transfer one random act of kindness to one index card. And so if they're at home, they can still do their random acts of kindness, but rather than index cards, because you can't guarantee they'll have those, they would put them on, little pieces. They would cut up the cardboard from the cereal box, or they would cut up the paper bag and write one random act of kindness on each one. And they can only use the ones that they have to build the tower. So if kids only did 5 random acts of kindness, their towers probably aren't going to be quite as tall as somebody who like really worked hard to do, 20 acts of kindness in the last week. Another way you could run this rather than doing random acts of kindness is to have them create compliment cards. So in this case, the students record a compliment or something they appreciate about each member of their group or their class, including themselves. You could even have them just do like cards about what they love, especially if they're distance learning. This might be easier to do this, is have them write down a list of things they like about themselves, or they like about their family members, or they like about their friends. So just getting them to write like one nice thing, or it could be like 3 nice things for one person. Then they can have 3 cards. So this is sort of where we tie in kind of like the towers of love. I also saw this idea from Vivify STEM earlier in the week in their Facebook group called the STEM Space. And I thought this would be a super cute thing to do if you have your kids in class with you, rather than doing index cards, is to have them cut out hearts and use those and try to build a tower out of the hearts. So I thought that was a really great alternative or another idea that you could use with this tower challenge to make it novel. Because like I said, if your kids have done any STEM challenges in the past, they've done towers. So anytime we do a tower, especially I'd say from grades 3 up, you want to try to find something to make it more interesting or more novel, so that they're not just doing the same thing they did, in second grade and first grade and kindergarten. For our general criteria and constraints, generally I say I got like a fuzzy. Keep like feeling it on my lip. Okay. The criteria and constraints: the tower must be as tall as possible. The tower must be freestanding, meaning it can't be propped up or lean against something else. And then, as I said, if you're using the kindness cards or compliment cards, then each card used must contain a kindness or a compliment. And you can actually combine those two ideas so they can put in random acts of kindness and compliments, or things they love about themselves, things they love about their friends or their family. And it can be sort of a combination of that, sort of like a very feel good tower, right? Or tower of love, as I said. Now, you might not be doing your towers for height. If your kids are older, then some things you can do to increase difficulty. You can add a constraint in for the base area. I put 100 inches squared there, but you can make it much smaller. The smaller you make it, the harder it's going to be, right? To build up a tower for height if the base is narrower. You could limit the tape or give them no tape at all. You can make sure you can make you can like tell the kids they're not allowed to tape the base down, because if you don't tell them that, then it's okay for them to do it. And obviously it's easier to keep your tower stable if it's taped down. You can require certain geometric solids, as you see in this example to the right. It's kind of hard to tell, but the pink cards at the bottom are rectangular prisms. The yellow in the middle are triangular prisms. And then you have cylinders, and then you have another rectangular prism there at the top. So like I think in this case we were doing things where it was like alternating, like each level you couldn't do two levels in a row with the same geometric solid. But then that's super helpful if then you are going into doing volume measurements or even surface area measurements. You can do earthquake tests. Kids love doing that. When I was in the classroom, I used to just do this by jumping like up and down, because our floors were never most of my classrooms were like bungalows or portables, depending on where you are in the country, what they call them. So like if you would jump on a desk, like, or on the floor, like right next to a desk, it would cause a little disturbance. And so we used to just do that, or we would just do like a little nudge of the side of the desk and see what holds and what doesn't hold. You can also place weights or require them to place weights at different levels of the tower. It could just be something has to be held on top, or you could put people or something that symbolizes people at different levels of the tower. And you could also require that they build not just one tower, but they could build a city of love. For extensions on this, one of the things I've been mentioning throughout the week is the importance of asking good questions and teaching your students to ask good questions too. And so my favorite three to start with usually are: what do you see? What do you notice? What do you wonder? I don't ask them in rapid succession like that. I do one at a time. What do you see? And then give them some wait time. Sometimes I'll ask them to jot things down, and then maybe have a few people share out. Well, what do you notice? What do you wonder? You can be studying the stable, like what causes a structure to be stable or not. If you're doing ancient civilizations, this would be a good time to bring in like ancient Rome and ancient architecture in general. What shapes are stronger than others? Obviously, you can graph data on this. And I always like, when I was doing this with like older fifth and seventh grade, have some, well, for me, back in the day when I was doing this, had life science standards where they had to know that, cells come together, like cells to come together if there were tissues, and then those tissues form organs and organs form organ systems. So I would have them try to create an analogy between cells, tissues, organs, organ systems to their towers that they built. And they had to sort of justify what they were comparing. So if they're comparing a single card to a cell, then what would they compare to a tissue? And if they felt like something was missing, if they felt like didn't have something that would symbolize, like maybe say the organ systems, then they would have to sort of extrapolate, well, what would make sense, even if we haven't built it, to represent the organ system. And so then I would just have them justify it. They would come up with different answers for that. But, for me, the main thing always is the thinking. Just the thinking through the process, and the discussions that come afterward are really incredible. And then another place you can find some more extensions for tower challenges. I mentioned this yesterday with floating flowers. I do have on my Simple STEM from Home YouTube channel student-facing videos. There are 5 for the towers challenge. Now, this is just a general towers. It's not specifically the Valentine's version, but I don't think it really matters for these extension pieces. So if you go in, that bit.ly link is Simple STEM Towers, all lowercase. you'll see the videos. And if you wanted to, you could assign those out to your kids. But really, the reason I put this here for you is if you look in the descriptions underneath those videos, the different days have some Google Slides or some Google Forms that have some extra activities. And especially the last day has like a choice board that might, even if you didn't do any of the other things, but there are some valuable things in there. The choice board can be something that's just easy for you to assign right out to your kids. So make sure you check that out for this week or for another week. If you could do this challenge with your students and you post any pictures on social media, as always, I would love for you to tag me because I love to see what they're making. And if you haven't already registered for Elementary STEM Con and Beyond, or even if you've registered, make sure every Sunday you're checking out the conference social media pages because you can win your seat to Elementary STEM Con and Beyond. Even if you've registered, we'll just refund you if you win. And if you haven't then registered yet, then we will register you at that point. Every single Sunday, we start a new contest, and every single Saturday, we pick a new winner. And that goes from now up until conference begins. I think the last drawing is going to be on April 10th. But this week, this is the one you're looking for. The bright pink post is the contest of the week. That is all. Let me check. I don't think I have any comments or questions that I need to address. No, I don't. So I hope you guys are having a great week. We have one more challenge to talk about tomorrow. I hope you guys have been enjoying these and finding some useful tidbits to bring this to your students because there really are so many different ways we can adjust STEM challenges. And I think right now more than ever, like working with our hands and being away from a screen for a few minutes is super helpful. So I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great evening. Bye for now.